Hi folks, welcome back to Bear Mountain today. It's squash harvesting time and we're going to harvest the last of our ornamental pumpkins and then we're going to rotate this bed into occultation. So we kind of wanted to show you the next step as we talked about in how to overplant daffodil beds. So stay tuned. Okay, so today is October 18th and the squash plants are pretty much done. Sometime they say by the 25th we may actually even get a frost. So our nights now are going down into the low 40s and daytime temps, maybe we get to the mid 60s and we're getting more rain and everything. So it's really just time to kind of clean this thing up. There's a pretty healthy crop underneath of all kinds of things, from the clover I seeded back in June to weeds, etc. And I even still have a few blackberry plants that I didn't get rid of. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to harvest out all of the ornamental pumpkins that are on this side. We've already done a pretty good job on them. And then all of our spaghetti squash, angel hair squash, and we got a couple of other types of squash here. These are going to be our winter squash for eating. So it's not too hard at this point because most of the vines have died back. So when we clip them, we're going to make certain that we leave stem on them. You don't want to, when you harvest these guys out, you want to get at least a couple inches of stem on these guys. That kind of helps with the preservation of it. And sometimes you may find that when you're digging around in there, what looks good on top has actually got some problems on the bottom. But I've kind of been probing around in there and I don't think we have too many of these guys.
But it looks so cute on top.
It does, as long as you keep your hand around the bottom. Okay, so let's get it done. First thing we're going to do is get them all out of here. And then once we finish with that, then we'll clip the vines off and throw them in the pathways between the daffodil beds. And then we'll haul the tarps in. We got new sandbags ready to go. And so this is a good project for this morning on a nice Sunday morning. Let's go do it. Okay, we got everything out of here, what's left. Some of the things like on our ornamental pumpkins we'd been harvesting earlier, so we got really almost all the casperitas out. And the ones that were left were munchkin, which are the more orange ones, and then I think a Jill B. Little is the other one. They're kind of a Cinderella type. So we probably pulled another 75 to 100 out of there of those guys.
And that little beige one that you can see in there,
yeah, that came on a casperita plant.
That's a casperita, and it really was popular, so, but I don't know how to get it.
Well, the thing is, what was weird about it is the same plant put out a beige one and a white one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of...
So we aren't sure why that happened.
These are hybrids, so even if we save the seed,
it wouldn't be good.
I don't know what else it crossed with. It'd probably end up being, you know, kind of a spaghetti squash look to it.
But it's really pretty.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the white ones went fast, and all the beige ones that we had were gone too. And so I think we need to grow more white and less the Cinderella variety.
I think we kind of missed the boat because I think the colors that are more outside of the traditional orange are getting more popular.
Right.
And they really took off this year and other people kind of hit the mark. We've seen that they did pretty well with all kinds of different shapes and sizes and colors.
So mental note on that.
Yep. The next group over here are angel hair squash, and we had 6 plants of that. And,
If that.
and we haven't eaten any of them yet, and so there's about, I think, close to 40 squash here off of that. A couple of them are immature, and we'll probably end up throwing away.
Compost.
Yeah, well, we'll feed it to the worms.
Yeah.
And then this group over here, this was spaghetti squash, and I'm not sure what the varietal was on it, but
Called spaghetti squash.
no. The thing is it didn't seem to ripen up, even though we put these guys in like in late June, and this is October, and we still got a lot of ones that are kind of like semi sort of ripe or on the verge of turning ripe. And I'm kind of hoping that, you know, when we put these out to age, that maybe some of them that are close will color up. Obviously, some that are really green aren't going to make it, so we lost a few of those. I think we had 6 plants of this too, so it wasn't even as productive as the other one. So I'm not sure why. We'll have to look at that variety. It's probably going to be the best tasting squash. You know?
Of course.
Then the next group, and this was just a test. We only put 1 plant in, and it was the variety was a type of a kombucha that was a miniature, and I forgot the exact name of it, but we'll put a link in the show notes to it. And then we've got honey bear acorn. These guys are like you know, 1 meal size type things, so you know, instead of having those giant huge ones, which are good too, but if you're just, you know, want a small meal, these guys I think work out really good. And then sugar pie pumpkin, we've already eaten probably half of what the one hill of plants already produced, so this is what's left. These are really good just as a bake without even putting them in a pie or anything.
A little bit of spice and a little bit of chopped walnuts,
yeah, you don't even
and
really
that's
need to put a
it.
sweetener in it.
And no sweetener or nothing, which is good because squash is kind of on the edge for our diet, but
Yeah,
so loaded with vitamins and minerals that we had to include it.
Yep.
So, what would you do again?
Less angel hair. Try to find maybe earlier maturing spaghetti squash. Probably, now that I see the productivity of these small kombucha types, I'll probably do a few more of those guys. And then we're definitely going to do more different colors on the ornamentals, more whites, maybe get some blues in it. And if we can find a beige, that'll be great too.
And more pie pumpkin.
I think the acorns will probably be just about right, and more pie pumpkins, because actually they're a nice size, and they don't get really super big.
They don't get big, they're not stringy, they're really smooth, they don't need to be sweetened at all.
No.
They're so good.
Yep. So I think that'll be good, and then we'll see what other new ones we can find.
Oh yeah, we'll
try.
be looking through the catalogs.
Yep. So okay, so that's the harvest. That did pretty good for that small of a space. We didn't do too bad. So we got just about everything out of there. So the next step is we're gonna get these vines off the actual daffodil beds. We'll just cut them off. We're not gonna pull or anything like that. So we don't want to disturb the daffodils themselves underneath. And then we'll put all of that vine in the pathway. Get these guys cleaned up and put out to kind of start drying, and maybe get the stems hardened up a little bit on some of these guys. I think on the angel hair we're going to end up cutting those stems closer to the squash itself, because what I've noticed is they're not like a traditional kind of hard stem like on the spaghetti squash here. They're kind of corky, or kind of almost like they're not a rigid stem as much as these guys. So I'm thinking probably cutting them within, you know, an inch or so of the top of the squash is probably the right thing to do. And then just let these guys cure for a week or two. We'll get our pellet stove going, and we'll probably end up bringing them down, stacking them downstairs by the pellet stove to keep them like around 80 degrees for a week or two. Okay, let's do the next part.
Not pulling them, are you?
Nope. ripping them off, pull them back, put them in a pathway. Daffodils are underneath all this refuse, but most of it will be gone in about 3 or 4 weeks. Probably we'll pull the tarp off of this guy right around the first week of December, and then we'll come in and on the actual daffodil bed itself we'll put compost, probably 3/4 inch or so of urban waste compost over the top, and this stuff should be rotted down to pretty good, almost like a straw. And if we need be, what we'll do then is we'll think about sowing something in the pathway, maybe a low growing clover or something like that.
So besides leaving, not disturbing the daffodils, and by not pulling it up, you're leaving lots of good minerals and stuff in the ground.
Yeah, all the root system for the squash is just going to rot right in place, and whatever biology, also too for any of the weeds and stuff that are on the top, when they rot down, that'll all be good biology for the daffodils. So be kind of a, just recycling the minerals, so to speak. At least the ones we didn't haul off in the form of a pumpkin. Okay, as you can see behind me when I move out of the way, most of the stuff is pulled out and put in the pathway. I'm just going to use the scythe here and go around the edges and trim up the grass before we lay the plastic down, so we'll just get as much cleanup around the edges as we can done. Walk through also too, see if we got any high spots, and I'll just whack it off with the scythe. So,
can you point to the exact spot where both daffodil beds are?
yes. Okay, daffodil bed 1 runs all the way down. You see where the squash kind of ends, right about there.
Not where the squash is, but where that's the path.
Right, that's the path where the squash is. Off to the left is a daffodil bed, about 4 foot wide, and probably about 60 feet long. And then you got one bed here, that's the same width, and this one is probably about 35, 40 feet long right here. And then this over here is a pathway, and behind it there's nothing, there's no extra beds or anything like that. So that'll all just be, once this rots down, we'll just throw cover crop on.
That could be a bed in the future, but not daffodils.
Right, it's not, there's just no market for those things,
I mean, we've got enough in all the places we have for daffodils for our market, but not any extra.
Right. I mean, when I say there's no market, I'm talking about us.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true for anybody else.
But we have plenty for what we sell.
Yep. So, let me just take care of cleaning things up a little bit. Okay, so we got all of the squash out of here, and we chopped the vines down, put them in the pathway, kind of went back through the scythe and kind of cleaned up around the edges. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring plastic over this entire area from this fence here, where we're looking at the white fence-ish, over to the other side, and we're going to tarp this whole front area. This will end up being like about 60 feet by 20 feet roughly, and we'll weigh the tarp down. It's just 6 mil plastic. We'll weigh that down with sandbags, and leave it until at least the first week of December minimum, maybe the middle of December. And by that time, all this green stuff under here should be dead, and the other stuff in the pathway should be well rotted, or at least it'll be looking like brown straw refuse. Okay, so we'll start to pull this out and roll it. We got a couple of different pieces that we'll put together to make this odd shape kind of fit in here. Let's get it done. Well, we got the plastic laid out. Apologize for the wind noise, but of course, wind only blows when you're trying to skin a greenhouse or lay a tarp out. Anyway, it's kind of tacked down. I'm going to go back and get some extra bags and just kind of fill in the gaps, but you can see from the pictures we took that basically we've covered the entire area. And again, this is going to be on here for about 6 weeks, and everything under here should be pretty close to well on its way to being decomposed. And then when we pull it off in December, then we're going to apply our compost. So at this point, this project's done, and I want to thank you guys for watching today, and hope this is kind of, well, we are all trying to learn things here, but I kind of hope this helps some people out thinking about how and what to do in planting over daffodils. This is a real easy way just to get rid of the crop residue of a second crop. So thanks for watching, and you all have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.